Hi, everybody. I'm Amy Marlin, and I'm here today to talk to you about those people that inspire others to follow their lead and make a change. In Stephen Denning's book, The Secret Language of Leadership, he calls these people transformational leaders. The Langston Educational PDF for Transformational Leadership defines this type of leadership as an approach that causes change in individuals and social systems. In its ideal form, it creates valuable and positive change in the followers with the end goal of developing followers into leaders. These leaders do not follow the traditional approach of communication, which was define the problem and then analyze the problem and last recommend a solution. So what do? In my presentation, I want to talk to you about the characteristics of a transformational leader. I'll outline some of the key features of how a transformational leader can persuade even the most skeptical to want to make the change and become proponents for this change. These leaders generate enduring enthusiasm for a common cause. They present innovative solutions to solve significant problems. They create shifts in people's values and ideologies. They also have a willingness to sacrifice personal interests, assist others through moments of crisis, and inspire others to want to change. A transformational leader can do these through narrative intelligence, what I like to call the art of storytelling. Storytelling has been a part of every culture, even back to the earliest of civilizations. These records of a group of people may not have been left by written language, but they were done through art forms, like murals. Through these murals, we learn about a culture's beliefs, traditions, and ways of life. Because we now have written audio and video recordings, today's murals do much more. They spark emotions inside of us so that these stories and the people are never forgotten. These two murals seem very different. The one on the top was found at the Temple of the Moon in northern Peru, done by the Mochi people between 100 and 800 AD. The one below is in Queens, New York. It's done by the artist known as the Pink Lady, Sandra Fabara, as a 9/11 tribute, just 1 month after the tragedy. Through both of these pieces, a connection is made. Just like the artists are creating a connection with whoever sees their work, a transformational leader does the same by understanding the audience and their story. Fathom this story like an artist. As Denning states in his book, they question, they explore, they intuit, they wander, they mingle, they live in it, they listen, they watch. But it also requires active interchange where they don't just observe, but rather they talk with them, not down to them. They understand the lives they are living. And because of that, they are getting to know the people, their needs, wishes, and desires, their stories. They are creating idea practitioners who also believe in this change and will continue it. Denning says that this narrative intelligence is a deeper world that is the source from which all enduring enthusiasm for change will come. Change ideas are stronger when they belong to everyone. Every great idea starts its life as a seed, but if you have mutual ideas, they will survive through even the toughest of times. The triad of a transformational leader does not take the same approach as the traditional leader. The transformational leader has the key to unlock what is in order to discover what can be, and does this from a different approach than that of the traditional leader. The triad is first getting the attention of the audience, then stimulating the desire, and then finally reinforcing with reasons. So when we think about emotions affecting our decision-making, attention has to be engaged by the emotions and what is personal to the listeners themselves. Denning mentions a fMRI brain scan study done by psychologist Drew Weston and his team at Emory University. These brain scans were done on Democrats and Republicans to see how they reacted when dealt with inconsistent statements. Instead of seeing an increased activation of the parts of the brain normally engaged during reasoning, they saw a network of emotion circuits light up, including those hypothesized to be involved in regulating emotion and resolving conflicts. They also said that once these participants were able to interpret these contradictions as supporting their original viewpoint, the part of the brain involved in reward and pleasure became active, and their conclusion was reinforced. This confirmation bias, as Denning calls it, is one reason why he says we should not start with reasons for change, or they will be reinterpreted as reasons not to change. He says we shouldn't start with reasons because the audience is neither listening nor thinking. So how do we get people's attention? Whatever tool that you choose to use, you have to know your audience's story. You have to know what they are going through and how you can get them to buy in. If they're in a bad situation, how's the solution you're selling going to help? Or if their present situation is good, why should they change? What are you offering that would make it better? The idea of change has to connect to those that are going to adopt it. They need to visualize how this is going to affect them and whether it is in their best interests. Throughout this process, the transformational leader needs to show authenticity and build trust so that the audience knows that they are valued as individuals and as experts in their field. This leads to stimulating desire. But to stimulate desire, the underlying idea has to be worthwhile for its own sake. For enthusiasm to be enduring, this goal has to be long-lasting and memorable. That's why most people choose to use those catchy phrases and succinct stories. Co-creating this new future by giving the audience the room to contribute will also make it the audience's story. Denning states that if people are not given a role, they don't feel that it's something that's their own. He also says that people need to get inside the idea, realize it is unfinished, and see the possibilities ahead of them. I know as an educator that this is what I do. When a new program or teaching method is introduced, I'm thinking about how I can use this in my classroom and make it my own. I look for the creative possibilities, and it makes me excited to be a part of the journey. You have to appeal to the heart as well as the mind, because without an emotional connection, nothing happens. By stimulating desire, decisions are made instantly. Giving people reasons at a time when they are ready to receive them is one of the keys to communication that leads to action. If the reasons come before an emotional connection has been established with the change idea, then the reasons can reinforce it. The listeners are now actively searching for reasons to support a decision instead of shutting it down. Instead of relying on pure reason, on facts and figures and arguments, stories are reasons with an emotional punch. All three steps are important for change, but the most important is stimulating desire. Without it, there is little point in getting people's attention, and there's nothing to reinforce reason. Desire drives the change process. In Denning's book, he mentions how Brusick and Davenport examined how large organizations succeeded at implementing major innovations. They found that the driving force behind these new ideas was not the CEO, but idea practitioners. But they are more like caretakers of the idea. When we find others who feel passionately in the innovation, it will continue to grow and develop, and so will the people. They see themselves making progress towards something that is good for its own sake. They are making a contribution, and I feel this is what we all want, to find a purpose in our work and make a difference. We must become the change that we want to see in the world.